Hello, I'm Ghost Hunter Joe, and you are watching part 6 of my viewer requested series of stories about my first ghostly experiences and what got me interested in ghost hunting and the supernatural. During the summer of 1971, my family and I moved from Granville, Ohio to Rockledge, Florida, where my mother purchased this relatively new but modest 3-bedroom home. I lived here with my mother, grandmother, brother, and 2 sisters. Shortly after we moved in, we each started experiencing strange goings on, and our neighbors eventually informed us that the wife and mother who had lived here from the time the house was built in 1961 had committed suicide upon learning that her husband had been cheating on her. My friend Sarah found this small newspaper article in the Orlando Sentinel dated April 9, 1969, detailing her death. According to the article, she died to a gunshot wound in the head by a .45 caliber pistol. In this video, we will discuss some of my brother Jim's experiences while living in our allegedly haunted home. This is my brother's senior picture, as published in the 1972 Rockledge High School yearbook. The Volkswagen Bug circled in red in this slide is my brother's, which he purchased in Ohio and drove to Florida when we moved. I learned to drive in a Volkswagen Bug a few years later, but not this one. When we first moved into our new home, Jim and I shared the smallest bedroom behind the window circled in red in this slide. A few weeks after we moved in, my sister Krista's boyfriend from Ohio, Steve, turned 18 and moved to Florida and stayed with us. He shared the small bedroom with Jim and me. It was pretty crowded. We had a set of bunk beds, a twin bed, and a chest of drawers in this tiny bedroom. It was kind of like the boys' bedroom on the television show The Brady Bunch, except a lot smaller. Not long after Steve moved in, my brother talked my mother into letting him convert the utility room, located beneath the red arrow in this picture, into a makeshift 4th bedroom. At this point, none of us knew about the lady who had killed herself in the utility room. My brother nailed up paneling over the unfinished utility room walls and moved the twin bed into the room. He also hung posters and set up his stereo record player and speakers on a makeshift concrete block and board shelves, which were popular at the time, at the foot of the bed. After spending his own money on the paneling and lumber, my 18-year-old brother did not stay in his new bedroom very long before deciding he wanted to move back in with his 11-year-old brother. He didn't tell anyone at first, or at least no one relayed to me, why he wanted to move out of his seemingly perfect setup. I just know that I asked my mother if I could move into the utility room, and she said no. After my brother moved out of the utility room, he told my sisters and me how several times around 2 o'clock in the morning he would be awakened from his sleep by someone who sounded like our mother yelling, "Jim! Jim!" And upon his waking up, he would discover that everyone in the house was asleep. We all noted that our mother would have never called him Jim. She always called him Jimmy. Jim also told us that on another occasion, around 2 o'clock in the morning, he was awakened from his sleep by books flying off the block and board bookshelves and hitting him on the back as he slept on his stomach. This must have been the point where he decided to move back into a bedroom with his little brother. My sister's boyfriend Steve only stayed with us for a month or two. After he moved out, my brother Jim and I moved into the middle-sized bedroom behind the window circled in red in this slide. This is the bedroom discussed in part 5, which I mentioned how we had issues with the lock on the door and had removed the doorknob, and how my grandmother got locked in after seeing the door fly shut after making sure that it was opened. Jim informed me that one night around 2 o'clock in the morning, he heard a noise in the hallway just outside our closed bedroom door. He described the noise as the sound of someone pouring dry dog food into our dog's metal food bowl. When he got up and opened the door to investigate, all the dogs were standing there wagging their tails and looking at something that wasn't there. So is my childhood home in Rockledge, Florida haunted? I had and have No reason to doubt my older brother Jim when he said someone or something woke him up by yelling, "Jim!" or caused books to fly off the bookcase at the foot of his bed and land on his back as he slept. And I cannot imagine why anyone would make up a story about an invisible entity serving our dogs dry dog food. But they do say that small children and animals are more susceptible to seeing spirits, so this and the dogs being there wagging their tails would be in line with that theory. And this is Ghost Hunter Joe saying goodbye and see you next time.